Good morning.
Hey.
Welcome. Hi, everybody. We are going to be discussing our new series, some coffee talk and event recap. We're going to be discussing just previous events that have happened on Swell, some of our clients that have had some successful events. And today we're going to be starting that off with YWCA Northeast Kansas, their 33rd annual Women of Excellence Awards. So you can see it on the screen right here. We're just going to be talking to you a little bit about what we saw, what we liked, what type of event this is, and just getting into everything that event is about. So,
Yeah.
just to start us off, Brooke, you watched it. You've attended some honoree events like this before. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you saw?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, congratulations to the YWCA and all our YWCA clients. That mission, that's an organization that's been around a long time, I think in the century range here, and their work is as relevant as ever when it comes to justice issues. Uh, because I love nonprofits, the thing that stood out to me the most were some of their stats. They had received 1,000 calls in 2020 from domestic violence victims. And they mentioned that 81 kindergartners had gotten a boost for going off to kindergarten for the first time. And I just thought those were really compelling stats. And we have the chance to hear that on so many nonprofit events, but I just was so compelled by clearly how hard they've worked through COVID. And this is an event that's been on the platform before. And Savannah, you and I talked, we've had several of these style events, this honoree style event, particularly with a lot of honorees. So different than some. We've had a couple recently that have, 20 or more honorees. And I think in this case, it was 30 or more honorees. And so that's an interesting dynamic for an organization, particularly a small one. I'll bet they spend a lot of time cultivating and coordinating with those honorees and all. But that's really the focus of this is highlighting those honorees and the mission of the YWCA. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is that I thought that they this year they did a really good job with the production. Last year they did a pretty good job with the production. A lot of it was pre-recorded. It may have been entirely pre-recorded last year, which was a very reasonable thing to do early COVID days. But they were live this year. It was a true hybrid event, and that was fun. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure. But props to the YWCA Northeast Kansas for being completely hybrid and live, just like we are right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will definitely agree with you. I think that the production was great. It felt like we were actually there whenever we were on our computer screens. And this is, like you were saying, not our first honoree heavy event. So I think it was definitely something with this event where it's hybrid. So you have people in person and you also have people online. So you have to focus on how you're incorporating both of those and making both feel welcome and like they're a part of the event. Obviously, we talked about this being honoree heavy. So really focusing on those corporate sponsors and making sure that they have people attending and that they feel welcome as well. And so, with all of that being said, talking about the specifics of the event with the honorees and the sponsors and everything like that, with having two of them now that we've seen on our platform specifically, what do you find difficult about them?
Good question. My assumption is that these heavy honoree events, particularly when they're 30 or more, that they were conceived as a way to engage corporate sponsors. So a lot of these honorees represent companies, and then those companies buy a table, and that's the fundraising. And then we come into the picture at Swell, and usually years later, we're now focused on trying to augment individual giving at an event that was really focused on corporate sponsor giving and corporate sponsor engagement. And so sometimes getting that individual giving going at a heavy corporate sponsor event is really hard to do, particularly when those guests are in a habit of showing up, honoring their friend, and leaving, and they feel like they've done what they're supposed to do. They've sponsored the table, and the company has moved on. So, and in some ways, that's true. The organization has hit a nice revenue number with corporate sponsors, and they're trying to get something going. And so, in the case of this, I thought YW did a really neat job of really leaning into some peer-to-peer ideas in trying to get the ball rolling on that. The other organization we're talking about is a Girl Scouts organization that has a heavy honoree component. The add a donation function when people were registering, a lot of people added donations to their ticket purchase process. So I know that led to a lot more individual giving than what would have happened in the absence of that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the hard parts about a heavy also a corporate honoree event, is that if it doesn't have a lot of individual giving, that can be really hard to get going. And so I know this organization worked really hard to do that and did that. They did a really good job of really getting going. So that would be, I think, the hardest part of a heavy corporate honoree event is individual giving, but it's certainly worth a shot. So.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, they did a fantastic job of that. I mean, as you're looking at this screen right now, you can see on the site they have a Become a Fundraiser button. So it gives individuals the opportunity not only to attend the event, but also to fundraise for the event. And then I also want to point out they have a top fundraisers prizes list as well. So they kind of created a little competition, which is great to do with peer-to-peer fundraising. And they really leaned into that. So multiple times last night on the event, I heard them saying, hey, check out the leaderboards, see who's fundraising the most. Can you guys beat someone else out? Keep in mind, these are the prizes we're going to announce at the end. So I feel like they really did a good job of pushing people to give those individual gifts and try to bring that number up together, not only, just for the fundraising as a whole, but just to kind of create a competition and make it fun for the guests as well. So I feel like they did a really, really good job of that with the prizes and having the ability for, like, if someone pops onto that site and they're looking at the date and they don't think they're going to be able to attend, they give them that opportunity to also become a fundraiser and be a part of the event beforehand, and give them the opportunity to kind of raise a little bit of awareness and raise a little bit of money for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was really cool.
Yeah, they did. I thought they really did a lot to engage. And that really, I think, helped engage some pre-event fundraising with the event. So, I just pulled up actually their virtual module so that people could see some of that activity. Because the other thing they did a great job of last night, because they were live, which I know feels risky to nonprofits to be really, truly live in a hybrid environment. But because they were live, there were just some funny things that happened. We were talking about that this morning. Like the first person that stood up started going whoop whoop and getting excited, and then every speaker started doing that. And those are the small elements of a live event that make a virtual audience feel connected to it. Like, oh, I'm glad I came because I wouldn't have seen that. And it makes it feel very warm. Their virtual audience was clearly very engaged. They were talking with each other, clapping, giving, and so you can see that they really felt connected to what was happening in the live environment. You could hear the background noise. Even after the event was over and we were seeing sponsor slides, you could still hear them in the background saying, yeah, go get your last glass of wine, and some people might think, oh, that's not a good thing, but it really is. It really, that's there's a humanity to that gets lost in a pre-recorded video.
It made me want to jump off the couch and go grab a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Let me join in with everybody there.
So when you're live, it's okay for it to be really casual in a way, because it creates a lot of warmth. Particularly a small organization, because they probably all know each other. This was Topeka, Kansas, so they probably know each other, and so that makes it even more fun. We don't know anybody, but imagine if you did. That would be even more fun, and you'd be so glad you tuned in. And all. So, and we saw a lot of that. Great event. People who were really grateful that they could tune in virtually like this and give. So it was good activity. So
absolutely. Yeah. I guess my final thought, just to kind of finish up anything that I wanted to say about this event, was the honorees themselves. The good thing about having the honorees is that we get to hear their stories. And so being on last night, getting to hear each individual honoree's story was so impactful. And it really shows you that they take the time not only to pick out these honorees, but to make sure it's someone that makes an impact in the community. So it was really great to hear what the stories were and how impactful they are in their community, and just to be a part of it. So that's my final thoughts on the event. I think they did a really good job of making, like you said, the virtual guests feel like they were a part of it. I wanted to say whoop whoop while I was sitting on the couch. So I do think that they did a really good job of making sure everyone felt like they were there, even if they weren't physically a part of it.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to point out that I'm not sure we brought up is that this is a small nonprofit. And one of the reasons that we chose them to do this event recap is that we have a lot of large clients. Of course they invest in their production, and of course they have a virtual option, and right, it seems easy for a big budgeted organization, and this is not that. And so what I love about these guys is not guys, these women, is that they are benefiting from technology and virtual too, and they're a small organization, and so I feel like anybody who's listening, there are thousands of small nonprofits, and small nonprofits can be just as successful as the big nonprofits are. And this is a great example of that. And so that's what we love, the small nonprofits, because I just feel like it's just the underdog in a way. And so when the underdog comes through, you just love it. I've actually sort of stalked this event for the last couple of weeks to see how they were doing, and I just kept going back and checking their numbers, because we really root for our smaller nonprofits, because we know it's harder. It's a harder decision to spend money. It's much harder, and so I know that it's paid off for them, and we love that about it. So I want to just inspire that. This has been a great group to work with in that way. So small does not preclude technology.
No, and they looked big. They were small, but they looked big.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and you bring that up. I was on a big organization's virtual event, not on Swell yesterday. Just going to say, not on Swell.
Not saying it's a mistake, but
not on Swell. Clearly they didn't have the support that they needed, know? And so I bought a ticket and attended a large event on a mission that I deeply care about. And they did not look as sharp as this organization did, and they should have. And I thought it was a real shame. And it really kind of made me mad for them in a way, but I worked with somebody a long time ago who said, if you're upset about it, that means you care. So it is because I care about that mission, and it frustrates me that a large organization with the resources to hire good vendors did not look as good as a really small organization on the very same day, almost the same mission. And the brand and the quality of this event was much higher than that. And that's a shame. It really, virtual is an opportunity to capture donors from all over the place. That's an organization I would never have been able to connect to in a physical environment, but one that I could feel very connected to in a virtual way. And so it's a great opportunity to capture donors from anywhere. And so it is worth investing in. And small nonprofits can look really big this way. And it makes us really proud to do that. So yeah, that was my 2 cents. I was really frustrated. I don't know why they weren't on Swell.
Everybody, the key to this and the takeaway from today is that everyone needs to be on Swell.
Well, we're just going to make sure that you're successful and you look good,
Absolutely.
and because we want to look good too. So it's I mean, yeah, we care about how they look, but I love when a small organization can come through and look big. It's really awesome because of those 1,000 calls that they received.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you, Brooke, for jumping on for a little bit of coffee talk this morning.
Yeah, it was fun.
We're super excited to kick off this event recap series with a great organization, and we look forward to talking about a few more organizations in the near future. So thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you later.
Bye. Thanks, Savannah.
Bye.